So LBRY kind of follows the idea of progressive decentralization in this way, where we
Yeah.
believe in decentralization as an ideal. If something like view counts can't be done in a decentralized fashion, quickly to get it to people, and they need it, we'll break the rules a little bit there, right? We're not saying that every single aspect, you can use it entirely decentralized. All the key features are there entirely decentralized.
Wonderful pleasure of once again speaking with Jeremy Kauffman, the CEO of LBRY. We spoke a few months ago, I believe it was 4 months ago or so, on losing bank accounts and stuff like that, and then going into the platform a little bit. And now it's time for like the beat up interrogation type thing, as we go through a lot of like hard questions and hard not being like confrontational necessarily, but just try to actually get to understanding like what LBRY's actual limitations are, if any. And I'm sure everything in the known universe has limitations. So, hey, Jeremy, how's it going?
Hey, it's great to be here with you. And since we have last spoke, I know you've gone deep on LBRY, and I know you're a sharp guy. So it's great to be here and to be getting these questions. And anyone who knows me will tell you I'm someone who believes in a good spirited debate. So even if I want to be asked hard questions, right? I want LBRY to. So I think this project, I think it should be scrutinized. And I think what we're doing does stand up to scrutiny. So there's nothing to be worried about, right? And also, I'll be straightforward and clear. Not everything about the system is perfect, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. We think we're on a great trajectory. I've made a ton of progress, but as we get into some of these questions, I'm sure there are going to be times where I'm going to go, well, here's what we're doing, and here's where we want to be, and we're on our way there.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, we get to when you understand like a decentralized system, like a blockchain system, that is obviously populated among a whole bunch of different miners, nodes. Anyone can theoretically become a node, anyone can become a miner. That's the blockchain. Now, as far as the storage of files is concerned, where does that actually take place?
So the data network on LBRY is completely separate from the blockchain network. You can actually think of the LBRY protocol as sort of two separate networks that interact with one another. And as for anyone who's not satisfied by the depth of the answer I'm about to give, I will also say that it's all provided in very clear detail at lbry.tech/spec. But the answer is it's an entirely separate network. People who are running the desktop software, which tens of thousands of people are running right now, they participate in that network. There are also both users and people and companies that interact, that participate in that network in a sort of like more in a larger capacity than your average desktop user. But it's a peer-to-peer network that's very similar to BitTorrent that we made some tweaks to in terms of adding support for future streaming, making the data, the units of data more anonymous relative to their larger whole. Some other things like this that I could go into more detail on, but it's broadly similar to the way that BitTorrent works, that data network.
Yeah, so there's basically no way of stamping out some data from the network unless you literally go to every single node that's running this and kind of get rid of it at a very high level. Obviously, there's nuance.
Yes, right. Yeah, essentially that. Yes.
Yeah. So now we got the references to stuff that's on the blockchain, like say the naming system and things like that. It's on the blockchain. That's ostensibly immutable. And then we have the BitTorrent style data storage of the actual files and content and stuff. And that's in a similar way. It's hard to stamp out. It's decentralized. Now, how about the metadata of say your profile, your playlists, the graphics that are like of your channel, and then your follower count, and just all that kind of together? Where is that stored?
So it's actually a mix. So we would have to go through specifically, but I can say broadly that it's two categories. So one is when we can, and our goal is ultimately to really get everything here, we put it into your local wallet. So things like the channels that you follow, that's stored locally in your wallet, as are some other settings and preferences and things like that. And that way, you don't have to rely on us to be relaying that information back and forth, right? Other information like view counts and subscribers, we do not have, and it's questionable theoretically if a decentralized solution even exists to these problems. So right now, we track that stuff in a centralized fashion from users who opt in to providing that information with us, right? If you read our FAQ on view counts, we actually say we can't give you perfect view count information, right? And in time, actually, we think we'll try to make smart adjustments based off of what we can and can't tell to give accurate view count estimates. Right now, the view counts are the ones we know specifically about. To be clear, we don't make any adjustment. But I think in time, as we see less and less of the network, more people opt out. We'll have to do stuff like this. So things in that category we currently manage. We're always looking to decentralize things, right? So there are potentially, theoretical designs that you could go in that are like a little bit more decentralized, sort of like ring methods where there's not just one entity doing it, but multiple entities. It's a little bit, so LBRY kind of follows the idea of progressive decentralization in this way, where we believe in decentralization as an ideal. If something like view counts can't be done in a decentralized fashion, quickly to get it to people, and they need it, we'll break the rules a little bit there, right? We're not saying that every single aspect, you can use it entirely decentralized. All the key features are there entirely decentralized. Some additional thing in terms of like, can you find stuff? Can you play it? Can you buy it? Right? That all works entirely decentralized. But some the niceties, right? Some of the stuff that YouTube has that say BitTorrent doesn't. Sometimes we haven't figured out the perfect decentralized way to do that, right? And at something like view counts, we step in and provide that. There's not that much in that category though of provided by us.
Yeah. So say we got someone spends a lot of time and potentially money or whatever building up a channel that's like a livelihood, and then the worst thing happens. Aliens come over and abduct the staff of LBRY Inc. and just take the whole thing down. The code base is still there. All the LBRY apps get destroyed though, and someone has to just make a new one from scratch that still interacts with that. Do you still keep all like obviously you keep your content, right? But do you keep all your followers and things like that as well? And can they still, the following you worked so hard to build, is that still decentralized in a way?
It's still decentralized. The channel. So like, if in the LBRY is taken over by aliens and everything we have destroyed and wiped, what would be lost is the exact count of how many people there were, around the world who had followed you. But they wouldn't be gone. They would still be following you, right? They would still see your new publish in their apps. They can still open their desktop client. They can still see you, right? And I would think or hope that in this in this extreme unlikely scenario of the aliens, that the community would at that point step in and attempt to rebuild that, right? And we want to make it alien proof, right? That is our goal. This is just one sort of fairly small thing that's not alien proof yet.
Yeah, so that's a pretty, so already you have like your content is up, the liaisons between them, the following, that's all up. So that's a pretty good solid thing to start out with. And does that include like the text and the graphics and stuff on your channel?
The text on your channel, the graphics on your channel, the images, like everything would be there, right?
Yeah. Now,
so it's you're talking about like a little bit of toppings here and there, but everyone retains their following, everyone retains all their credits, everyone retains all their transactions, everyone retains everything they published. It's all going to look the same. Everything is there.
Yeah, which is a good thing that a lot of people. Basically, not only is this not a company that's going to do any shenanigans, but even under what are the worst case scenarios, you don't really lose much,
Yes, and I think that there are so many people who are believers and supporters of the LBRY project already. You can look at our GitHub, how many people are contributing. We're constantly ranked in the top of number of contributors across like all projects, like in all blockchain projects.
Yeah, it's like top 5, right?
Yeah. Frequently, yes. Yeah, like CoinGecko has us really high. Other third parties have us really high. Flipside has us really high, and we have eight paid engineers. Okay, like there are a lot of people involved in this project, because they believe in what we're trying to do. LBRY is getting more done on less money than just about any blockchain company out there. and that makes the project more robust, not less, right? It makes it more robust. Right?
Yeah.
Because if we're winning right now, off of these resources, there's not really that risk,
Yeah. Now, as far as we get to, so we're thinking about like YouTube taking you down, and obviously it's not possible in the same way. Now we think about something like YouTube demonetizing you. Now, I don't even think it's worth spending much time on saying what happens if the LBRY Inc. cuts off the rewards, because that's a temporary measure anyway. But like anyone can still peer-to-peer tip you, send you money, buy your stuff. So that doesn't I don't think we really need to go over that very much. But the next thing that YouTube notoriously does, again, when we're looking at how we're trying to think about if is LBRY any good, we have to think about the awful things that happen and be like, hey, compare them. So is crushing your videos in the search engine rankings, in the algorithms. And so this is like a weird thing. So how does LBRY actually determine these kinds of things, and what percentage of that is decentralized in a way, what percentage of it is still kind of maintained by the company?
Great question, right? So it's basically all, I would argue that it's all fairly decentralized to very decentralized, but some of it is being, certainly some of it is being maintained by us. But as always, our goal is to provide choices, right? And so in terms of LBRY algorithms, these algorithms are what I sometimes call soft algorithms. By that I mean these are algorithms that are constantly evolving. They're changing. We're trying to get the design of these right, because there's no objectively correct answer to a question like, okay, when someone types in the word, Apple or Bitcoin, what should be returned, right?
Yeah, of course.
So you have to, humans have to write algorithms. In our case, we're using fairly traditional search approaches, where you build fairly complicated formulas against essentially a document, various metadata about the thing, and then you apply that algorithm to find the stuff that matches. The way that we do it is all open source, so it's all on our GitHub, and so anyone can look at it, anyone can modify it. The other thing that we've done is the search services can essentially be plugged in and out, so you can very easily update not even update, right? Just like change a setting. Your client is now pointed at a different search server, and you get results from that server instead of the server that we're running. And that's actually even only for some searches. A lot of searches are completely decentralized. So something like, what's the trending content in blockchain? Completely decentralized. For the blockchain tag, completely decentralized. It's the search that we provide, but that other parties can provide, but that we provide by default, is only the keyword search. Tag searches, trending searches, top searches, all of this stuff is done in a completely decentralized fashion. So you're only reliant on whoever you're, same as Bitcoin thin wallets. You're reliant on your wallet server provider, right? But anyone can do that. Anyone can run one. It's really easy to run one, and that's actually the entity that provides a lot of search results. Yeah.
Yeah, so the actual hashtags and if they trend or not, those are kind of protocol level. But then when you're just searching for like top Bitcoin wallets in 2019 or 2020, whatever year it is, and then all the stuff that's not just the tag that goes in, that's all done by LBRY Inc. But you're saying that those are all open source, and you could have custom make your client to point to different search results to kind of get that.
Yep. And that's true of everything we do. Everything we do is open source. Everything we do is configurable. Look, fundamentally, the part of the business proposition that we're trying to make, part of why we're saying to trust us, right? And is we are tying our hands behind our back. We're trying to make it so that we're as resistant to the alien takeover problem as possible, right? And if there are specific things that people say here, we make them, right? Like people say, and this, here's one that the community pushed us on that we weren't taking seriously enough that we recently fixed, or is about to be fixed, which is having our Android apps available outside of the official Google ecosystem, right? And we always provided a direct APK link, but we weren't available in alternative app stores, right? I think people are right to be concerned about this, right? We've seen what's happening with the Apple App Store right now with Hey. These app stores are a point of control. And so people said, hey, library, you need to be available outside of the Play Store. We put a bounty on it. We prioritized internal work that we needed to do to get it to happen, and now it's going to happen. And so, in general, even if there's, if you're listening to something on this interview and you're like, "Whoa, I think that's a problem," tell us, talk to us about it, because our goal, 100%, is to get to the library is taken over by aliens, and it's the next day, and nothing has changed, right? That's what we want. That's what we're trying to do. That's how we think we win. And so anything that we're not there on yet, it's because resources aren't unlimited, and we just haven't gotten to it.
Yeah. Now we get to, I remember I would say the early, because definitely not the early days, but the early days of this year using LBRY, I saw a few here and there mature videos float through, and then within like an hour, they disappeared from wherever. And obviously, of course, I've seen all the warnings about you need a mature tag, and if you mistag, you get severely punished. What is all that about in terms of the nuts and bolts? What actually happens?
Yeah. So we have two different lists. We have a sort of a block list and a gray list. And one list, the full block list, is for so in all cases, these are lists that aren't part of the core protocol, right? So these are lists that we maintain to facilitate and encourage legal usage of the protocol, because we think people should use the software in a responsible way. But none of the black or gray list functionality is in the core is part of the core protocol, because there's no way to provide that in a decentralized. Well, actually, we think there may be one, and we're working on it. But anyway, I'll describe the system as it is today. We maintain these lists. All right. The blacklist is just illegal stuff. Okay. So if something is if something is illegal in the United States, we put it on that list. Okay. All of our software, it means that it comes off of any server, any machine that's in our control. It means that it's going to not be shown to you on any returned by anything that we touch. Your software by default is configured to not show it to you. Okay. And then the gray list is for people who break the rules, right, on LBRY TV, because we don't want people to hurt the users of LBRY.tv. So this is a totally optional list. I believe the desktop clients don't even listen to it, but I have to double check on that. And if they are, we should definitely provide an option to turn it off, because that's not the idea. The idea of the gray list is, say, these people are jerks and you probably don't want to see them. And we also have a sort of next iteration of this system, this web of trust system that we were talking about on Twitter recently, which I don't know if we have time to get into, but it's super interesting. And the idea. We do want to provide essentially like optional filter lists. Totally optional list that you can subscribe to. But if someone wants to be a good citizen and maintain a register of jerks, and they maintain a good register, I might not want I don't want the jerks who mistag content, or these kinds of things, right? So that's this sort of this gray list system.
Yeah, and so in terms of the blacklist, so say someone puts something like wildly illegal, and like say the Federal Mafia by Irwin Schiff, right? That's a good safe thing to talk about. That's also very illegal it's still illegal for sale, isn't it? It's a banned book in the US.
I didn't know that there's this illegal book. I don't know this one, but sure. Let's assume. But I'm happy to assume this
for the viewers at home. Irwin Schiff is
me too. So
the late father of Peter Schiff wrote a book basically about avoiding taxes, called The Federal Mafia, and that's one of the reasons he went to prison and died in prison. And it's illegal for sale in the U.S. It's an actual banned book. I mean, I think you can still reproduce it, but
I assume there's some there's something that's he revealed illegally, or is
basically, and I think it's one of only 2 or 3 books in the U.S. history that's ever been like banned, and one of them was some like naughty book from back in the 1800s that since is off the list. But it was because he basically told people that the government had no right to extract income tax from them and encourage them to stop paying income taxes. And it was viewed as like a fraud or a scam or whatever. Now it's like banned for sale. But it's like one of those weird. I choose this option despite being a little bit esoteric because I don't want to go like kiddie porn option where it's
like I like this. I have to look into this. Anyway, okay, continue with the example. Okay, so this book, and we've been told this book is illegal, and the government knocks on our door and says, "Hey, this book's illegal." Okay, that's happened. Yeah,
put it on the blacklist. Someone puts it on LBRY. Someone, say a government spook, is on LBRY because they're there, and it goes and flags it as illegal. Yep. 5 people have read it. 5 little clients have, I guess, downloaded it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then what happens? So it obviously disappears from visibility. No one else views it and downloads it. Does it also? But it can't also scrub from those 5 hard drives, can it?
So we do not remove anything proactively from someone else's hard drive. Right? That would be I think a pretty gross violation. Once it's been added to that list, your client, if it's still observing our blacklist, if you went to load it, it would tell you, hey, this content's illegal, right? And you actually, when you're on the illegal page, it doesn't even show you the full metadata anymore. It shows you some of it, but it doesn't show you the full metadata anymore. It says, hey, this is illegal, or it's been, we've been informed or convinced that it's illegal. But it would still be on your hard drive. We do not remove it from your hard drive.
Yeah, and so, it'd be basically those 5 computers that got it in the beginning would have it and have to manually delete it or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, say if it's a case of, again, something like this where people want to just read what this guy said and they're like, I understand that LBRY Inc. can't have this, but we want our own thing. Then someone just forks the LBRY client, creates a complete clone that just has the exact same blacklist minus this one item. And then everyone who runs that then can start engaging in it and propagates on all their computers and stuff like that. Was that theoretically how that would work?
Yeah, I believe it's not even a full fork required. I believe it's just changing a configuration value because your people may be running the software in another country or something. We're actually working, and that's actually another area of progressive decentralization that we're working on. Actually, is we're trying to work to establish other entities that can actually maintain the legal lists for their countries. So that people can have a legal experience based off of the laws of the country that they live in, which is what you're supposed to do. So
So how does the gray list work? So it doesn't stop it from propagating on all the machines that use it. It doesn't remove it, but just makes it invisible unless you specifically direct to that path. Is that correct, or is it a little more nuanced than that?
It's basically it would get returned by other results, like if you had purchased it or stuff like that. It basically, graylist is basically just removing it from searches.
But if you know the exact path of it, then you could put that in. So say there's a chemtrail book that's full of all kinds of nonsense, and for whatever, which by the way, there's a popular chemtrail channel on LBRY right now. That's obviously an exaggeration to say that would be gray listed.
Our gray list is, to be very unequivocal about this, it's people who are literally abusing the system only, right? It's people who are going out of their way to mistag content, to try to trick people. People who are posting malicious content, but it's not illegal to post something malicious. And when I say misleading, I don't mean that they disagreed with the WHO. I mean misleading, and it literally says, what's on the other side of this is, a spreadsheet, and it's actually a virus. That kind of misleading.
Yeah. Or for the sake of this discussion, let's say it's just all a Rickroll. You're just looking at fascinating blockchain discussion from never gonna let you down.
Dude, honestly, I don't even know if we would graylist or Rickroll. I rolled my own audience just with my paid content beta. If you purchase, I just put something up.
I saw that.
You see, that was basically a troll. So we even something like that, because we're trying to be very much towards not doing this unless people really want it. I'm for more filtering, but I want that filtering to come through ultimately actually user controlled, optional stuff. I'm trying to be very light with what we as a company do.
Yeah. So basically, with the gray list, just takes it out of the search rankings. But say it's chemtrail, basically, let's say wake up sheeple is the path.
Yeah.
And then if someone knows about it but can't find it in the search engine, wants to actually locate it, if they type up wake up sheeple, then the search results would be blank, or it wouldn't show up, but the very top, the actual file name, the top result would be that, or like
Yes, I
how do you
don't
get to it?
believe. Yeah, so that top item is actually a URL, a
Mm-hmm.
URL resolution. It's the equivalent
Mm-hmm.
of typing in a URL in your browser,
Yeah.
right? That is not controlled by us. Same way that
Mm-hmm.
like Google doesn't control what resolves at any given domain name. So I don't believe that is ever filtered.
Yeah, so that would be it would be up there, and then just the
Yeah,
search results, maybe not.
yeah,
All right, so that's how those things work. Now, that mostly covers a lot of the censorship things. Now, there's another thing that's kind of interesting because I'm a crypto user for last 7 years or so, and I'm used to private keys, like the public private key system, and then the mnemonic phrase backup for those. And of
hmm
course, there's like username and stuff like coming to Dash and other projects like that that are a little bit separate. They're a little bit separate, but it seems like, as far as I've been able to tell, LBRY works on an email system. Even and obviously back end there is all that blockchain architecture type thing, but like how do I actually can I use LBRY at all without an email right
Yeah,
now?
yeah. Just use the desktop client. Yeah, that's what the desktop client is for. And I mean,
Yes.
you can actually use the web client with that one, but you can't get a wallet to. Anyway, yeah, just for the desktop client. You can actually use the
Hmm.
the Android client as well without an email. But
Yes.
desktop client probably makes more sense to use without an
So
email.
I believe I started on TV. I mean, I downloaded desktop client in like 2017 or something like that, and I just like I don't know what this is, and I got distracted with life, and then but obviously I had nothing going on there, and in fact I think it crashed my computer because I had a crappy computer, and so I just didn't. So basically,
That sounds right for 2017. I'll buy it.
yeah.
Yeah,
So basically,
come a long way.
whatever. But so I started more up on LBRY TV, and I think like I created like the channel and like all my stuff, and like I got the rewards account, got all that going on TV, and then when I wanted it on my desktop client, and then on the mobile client, I just got it to those. And the only way I could figure out how to do that is to input my email address that would then kind of do that.
Yes. So when you use the desktop client or the Android client without signing in, it's working exactly like a typical blockchain or Bitcoin
Hmm.
thin wallet, SPV wallet. Okay. So it generates a seed. And in fact, that there's actually is a wallet file on your hard drive that contains that
Hmm.
seed. And so if you're used to that kind of thing, you can open that file up, you can see it. It's all there on your hard drive. And so that all is a very traditional and standard way of doing it. If you choose, um, excuse me, um,
Hmm.
if you choose with LBRY.tv to sign in with us, we will then facilitate the transport of that wallet across your sessions. So that way you can have a consistent experience. And tying that back to our earlier conversation, that's also why we're trying to get your settings and as much of that stuff about your usage into your wallet. That
Hmm.
way, if you ever even sign in on the desktop version, that wallet is going to be on your local hard drive. Now, right? If you
Hmm.
only use the web version, the only copy of the wallet will be with us, right? We can't magically give you the wallet.
Yeah.
But if you use the desktop client and you sign in, the wallet will then be on your hard drive. You can even sign out at that point, and you won't be signed in with us, and you can still use your wallet, right? And so you can even start with LBRY.tv and completely get out of the ecosystem if you want to.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. So, I assume that means you can like get out a mnemonic phrase or some kind of backup like that, and then put that back into, say, a desktop or whatever.
You don't, you literally get the wallet file when
Hmm.
if you have, if so, I mean, I believe this is traditional with like most of them that ultimately
Hmm.
your wallet boils down to, a single file that contains
Yeah.
source
Well, dot
information.
dat
Yeah,
usually.
right. Say wallet.dat, same with us, right?
Hmm.
So when our architecture on LBRY.tv is we maintain an individual wallet file for every person, right? This isn't like
Hmm.
a mixing style that like some of these exchanges do. Like you have your own personal wallet file, right?
Hmm.
When you uh, use the desktop client and sign in, that wallet file gets copied onto your local computer. You have the full wallet file at that point, right?
Hmm.
Every setting is in there. Everything is in there. You can walk away if you never sign in with us again, right? It's just yours. We'll also delete. Currently, we don't have a button to delete our copy because we think that carries a lot of risk. Like we need to make sure you're like, you really sure, you really want to do this, etc. So we're currently asking people to email us. But if you email us, we'll delete our copy of your wallet, right? So you can create the LBRY TV account, get that wallet, take it onto your desktop, and ultimately have the only copy of it. You can also, if you're even more sort of paranoid or responsible, depending on how you think about things, take everything in that wallet in your local copy, generate a new wallet, and move everything into it, at which point you're firmly guaranteed that we don't have a copy.
Yeah, and so for crypto users, obviously that would mean like funds and things like that. But does that also includes like all your channels and things like that if you copy your wallet over to a new wallet? Like,
so to take a wallet and move everything out of it into a new one is like a little bit tricky. There's probably a script out there that someone has written that's done it. To do it manually, you'd have to run like a couple of commands in succession because you have to first move the channels and then move. I actually think you have to move the content. Like you'd have to script it, I think. But I think there is a script that someone's written that moves everything from one into another. It's not like one command. It's a little bit tricky. But it can be done. It can be done. And that's really only if you don't trust that we're deleting your copy.
Yeah, and so the last little question on that general subject is, so I run 2 channels right now because I have like a crypto one and like a personal, political, whatever you want to call it. And so those 2 channels are both kind of subsets of the wallet, of the single one wallet, correct? And so it all kind of feeds in there, but the data as far as like followers and stuff like that are all kind of associated with one or the other.
Followers are associated with a channel, but your wallet contains the keys to both channels. And actually, since this is touching on like stuff like what's discoverable and not, I will make the point here that if you're running multiple channels out of one wallet, it is likely that other people can tell that if they want to, right?
Yeah.
So if you're trying to maintain separate identities, like strongly separate identities, you should use multiple wallets.
Yeah, and it's not like it's easy to find that out. Like people would have to have some sort of technical background and go digging in there or something, right?
Yeah, I think what ends up happening is that it's likely that like some of the addresses will be like cross-used or something at some point, or maybe it's you can tell that they came from the same. I just remember it as like when this coming up that's what. I'm not precisely sure on the reason why. I'd have to think about it.